Well, it'll be fun. And Josh and I were just talking a little bit. So, Josh, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thanks everybody for coming. Got a nice turnout here. Thanks Amy too for being here, of course. I'm Josh. I'm president of AMA here. I'll put our Instagram in the chat so you guys can see like what the club is all about. We're always looking for new members and stuff. So a little bit about Amy. She's the founder and CEO of the promotional company Products to Profits, and they help companies form strategies to market their products. And she's worked on everything from surfboards to toothbrushes. She's been working in her field for over 20 years, and she actually has a background in design, which is really cool and unique. So I'll let Amy take over then.
Awesome. So, hey, everybody. Shelly sent me a little bit of information about who you all are and what your background is and the fields that you're studying, but I would love to know a little bit more. So in the chat window, if you've got it open and you want to drop in there, you know, like what's your question for today? If you could ask anybody who's been working in marketing and product development and business for a couple of decades now, if you could ask them anything about how to get started or what you should do, drop it in the chat window so that we see that. And because I really want to make sure that I speak specifically to what's important to you, okay? I don't have a prepared slide deck. We're not doing that today. We are doing you and I on camera and getting your life moving in this area, right? That's really what I want to do. Josh mentioned really quickly that my background's in art. I think everybody is at Alfred University, right, Shelly? Most
yes.
people? Okay. So how many of you have stood up on the hill, looked across McLean or the tennis courts towards the other side of the valley? Anybody? Come on, raise your hand. Play. We got to play here, right? You've looked towards the tech campus, right?
It's very good.
Somewhere down around the football field.
That is very loud.
Anybody?
Sorry, I just had to open something.
I saw Chloe raise her hand. All right. So if you have looked from the university campus over the football field on the other hill, you saw the house I grew up in, okay? I am from Main and Green Street, right in Alfred, and my path has been long and varied. But from that house at Main and Green Street, I have spoken on stage with a couple of the sharks from Shark Tank, worked on a line that did $300 million in sales in 3 years. And right now, I am on a mountaintop overlooking the city of Los Angeles. So from Alfred, there's a really great springboard. Now, since you're all familiar with Alfred, you know that, well, we have a lot of art in Alfred. My background, I was originally going to be a painter, and then I went to Philadelphia College of Art, and I fell in love with jewelry design. So my degree is actually a BFA. I did not expect, like I was just saying to Josh, I did not expect at all to love business as much as I do, but it has been spectacular. And I know that we've got a bunch of people who are business majors. We've got some art people, right? If you're on camera, raise your hand. It'll help me be awesome for you. Interactive helps me be great and really help you. Awesome, awesome. I see we got some people turning on the cameras. Woohoo! All right. So the intersection of business and art is really, really, really important, especially right now. So the convergence of video marketing is really about the visual messages, and it's driving the business use case. So it's a very important thing that you understand as business majors and as business people moving into marketing, that you need the creatives. You need the people that have the idea in a meeting that sounds something like, well, I don't know if this makes any sense, but maybe we could, right? You need them because they're the ones that are going to come up with something that's really different, that's unique, that stops the scroll, right? Good marketing right now is all about stopping this. Okay? You have to get people to stop scrolling on their phones, their computer, wherever they're looking at something, or your marketing isn't working. Okay? Without great marketing, your business will not work. It's just the way it's going to go. Okay? So you have to have both. I want to make sure to remind you, drop questions in the chat window. I do have it open, and I am going to take time to answer questions. We've got 50 minutes here. So let's make it really valuable for you. Is that a good agreement? Okay. So I like to think about marketing like this. Marketing, like having a business or a product without good marketing is like trying to eat this can of soup with a fork. Horribly ineffective, right? Can of soup with a fork is a lot of work. Good marketing is like getting the soup spoon so that you can get everything that you're meant to out of a business, okay? So if you remember nothing else, think about it like good marketing, soup spoon to eat the soup. Bad marketing, fork to try to eat soup. Bad, okay? So there's so many different directions I could go here at this moment, but I want to make sure, absolutely sure, that you understand you getting a job is a marketing act, okay? So if you're gonna be in marketing, your first piece of marketing is your marketing for you to get a job or get hired as a contractor on something, okay? So your resume actually is a marketing piece. Your portfolio is a marketing piece. It will be looked at as such. You know, so the attention that you put into those things is kind of the first indicator to a lot of companies what the attention is that you'll put into their marketing. Interesting, right? Okay, so there's a lot of different directions marketing takes and a lot of different types of marketing. We have a brand new product that is coming out. Literally, I sent the print file over yesterday to the print company. This is its old packaging. It's really not great. It's not a good brand. It's not even good colors. The information is incorrect. The new product is called GF Naturals, and if anybody wants, I'll find the new artwork file. So hot. And we'll talk about that. So let's see. Daria has a question. How does my personal artistic practice influence how I approach business? Wow, that is such a good question. My artistic process is very collaborative, for one. I draw all the time. I have colors everywhere, right? Like I have markers everywhere, all different kinds of colors because of my painting and drawing background. Plus, when I'm working on new packaging with my art team, I do the art direction, they implement it, but I'm giving the color schemes or the direction or the feel that the package needs to have. That is all straight out of my art background. What colors will play well together, what text we have room for it, like I'll show you this one. This is a package that we did last year, something like that. So all the color scheme, all the layout, the visual balance, the ability to control where someone's eye is going on the package is all artistic, okay? What we're putting in as a message when we get their eye to the place we want it to go is marketing. Does that make sense? So I want your eye to go here to the logo, and the creative look of the logo has to be attention getting. But once it goes here and we come over here to this part, the what is going on in this panel is marketing. It's the language. Now, same thing on here. The visuals, so this is the bottom panel. the visuals, we did the photo shoot for this and all the color schemes and all these things. So this bottom panel, the how to lay out the photo, how to position the model, what lighting should be there, all of those are artistic. They're artistic to cause a certain focus in an area or to cause an emotion or to bring up a reaction, right? That we are looking to have be connected to this product. Those are artistic decisions. The layout, the format of the package, all of that is artistic in combination with marketing. So yeah, it's really an important thing. So my personal artistic practice influences all of this because I need to keep my brain energized for color schemes. What are the trends? What's going to work or evoke a certain emotion? The same way as a painter does when they're painting something, right? Or they're like, if you look at anything from Kandinsky to Andy Warhol, they're looking to cause a new perception, right? That's part of what a great painting does. It causes you to see something new that you might have missed. Well, packaging does the same thing. It causes an affinity with a product, with the right person. That's artistic. It also crosses over into the marketing. Is this helpful? I hope that makes sense, Daria. So let's see. Oh, and my artistic practice also includes a lot of sketching. I don't do so much painting anymore. It's not been the season for that for me, but I use everything from that. I use a lot of design concepts. So let's see, Kaylee, getting a BFA with minor in business and arts management. Oh, Kaylee, do not worry about your major not being taken seriously in the marketing world, because think about all the video marketing that needs to happen, and the captioning, and the logo creation, and the visuals in social media. All of those are driven by artistic people, right? The best ones marry a marketing message to the exact branding, okay? So it actually works really, really well. So if you're worried, if any of you are worried about getting an entry-level position in marketing, keep this in mind. Like I just said, your resume and what you show is a marketing piece. It really, really is. So if you are pitching to become a digital marketing specialist for a company, for example, like say Bausch & Lomb, because they're out of Rochester, then you need to show something in a portfolio that shows you have some creativity and can see a different vision of how to explain their product. So if you want a tutorial in great marketing messaging when it comes to anything video or film, or using all aspects of experiential marketing, watch a car commercial. Close your eyes, listen to the soundtrack of a car commercial, listen to the sound effects, listen to the word pictures, all of those things. It is spectacular. And then the other way to look at it is watch the same ad with the sound turned off, and you'll get an idea of how they're using visual storytelling and artistic storytelling to convey without the words, right? You can come into marketing from either direction. You can come from the business world into it, but that usually comes across like, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, which is horrible marketing, right? How about making it that when someone looks at the product that you're selling, that they go like, oh my gosh, that's for me. That's really the best version of marketing, okay? So Chloe, I love it. I can see you nodding. I'm like, I'm watching. I have the whole array of the entire room up on my screen. So thank you. It really does help. I get very passionate about this. And like I said, that's a big surprise for me. So let's see. So Katie, I hope that that answer helped you as well as Kaylee. How do you go about getting your first job with a BFA and a marketing minor? You do a good job marketing. That's number one. So take a look at everything that you are going to send to somebody. I would suggest that it's this. Please, if you are going to send a cover letter, customize it. If you're going to send an email, customize it, right? Like have it be about them. The marketing is never about you. It's about how you help them achieve their goal. Always, all forms of marketing are always about how do you help the audience achieve their goal. Like seriously, grab a pen, write that down. That will get you a job. If you always speak in the how does it help the other person for you to work with them, then that's what they want, right? You're furthering their goal. And by the way, in doing that, you get yours. Actually, that's a quote from Zig Ziglar too. Zig Ziglar is an old-time guy on sales and marketing, and he said, you can get anything you want in the world if you help enough people get what they want, right? And it's true, because that's what your resume is meant to do. Your goal is get a job that is in your field that you would like, that you're a good fit for, right? Their job is find someone who can support their business vision. If it's an entrepreneurial business and it's a fairly small company, then the activity that each employee that they bring on needs to generate about $150,000 to $250,000 of actual money into the business for them to feel like you're a good return on investment. So think about that. Like when they bring you in, they need to see a sales lift of like 150K to 250K if they're looking at it from the accounting side, right? So that means that if it's an entry-level position, show up as a go-getter. Number one, over-deliver. Look for ways you can support other people in the organization. You might even do some work for them for free to get the interview, right? Like if you notice that, okay, here's a guerrilla tactic. This one would be good. If I were looking to get hired by somebody, name a company you want to work for. Somebody drop it in the chat window. A company you want to work for. Okay, Wegmans. You want to work for Wegmans. Great. Noah, do you want to work in their marketing department? Or do you want to be a bagger at the checkout? No harm in either answer. Okay, so you're a store operations intern. What would your dream job with them be? Right? You got to look at it that way. What are you trying to get to? You want to manage a department inside the store. Okay, great. So visual merchandising is very important to Wegmans. I know their chain really well. I know their business practices really well. We do product that ends up in grocery store, obviously. Visual merchandising is really important. How about you actually learn that, study it, watch the patterns of people in the produce department, right? How do they enter the produce department? Do they turn left or right first? Depending on the store layout, they will probably turn right first when they enter the store. Now, so you want to look at the traffic patterns because it's a merchandising conversation, right? And where are they putting the items that have the best profit margins, right? Because what they want to do is they want to pull people through the store layout to maximize the cart value, right? To maximize the transactions. So start studying it. Start asking questions. Like, why are they putting this thing up here? Oh, I bet there's loss leaders at the front door that are designed to get people into the store so that they have an opportunity to sell the next thing and the next thing. I mean, I cannot be the only one who's gone into a grocery store and like 20 minutes later, I'm like walking out with 15 extra things, right? Like, it happens all the time. So if you want to get hired by Wegmans in their marketing department, you would be looking at the marketing of other grocery stores and going, why are they beating Wegmans in certain markets? Or what catches people about this ad versus the other one? And start looking at what the goal is that Wegmans is trying to cause, right? And then think about, well, how is your role driving that goal? Okay, that's how the business owners are going to think of it. And that's how the store managers are going to think about their employees. Like, who's really about the goal and sees something potentially more than the position they're in right now. Okay. If I were outside Wegmans and I was trying to get hired into Wegmans, because I think a bunch of you are in that moment, right? You're outside a company and you're looking to get hired in. If, say, for example, I was looking to be a digital ad specialist for them or to do video marketing, I would watch what they're doing, and then I would look at everything that's going on in our culture, and I would think, how can I make a marketing message for that account that takes advantage and leverages the conversation going on right now in a graceful, good way, and I would send it to them for free. I would just create something, go on Canva to create the graphic if that's what you need to do, right? Like, use the tools, there's a million of them, and send it to them. Don't be so precious about your work. You know, yes, you're giving something for free. I give a free consult about products to this day. But you know what? It usually signs us business. My company, our sales are up about 46% over last year right now, in the middle of a pandemic. We give away a lot, and we trust that karma will take care of everything. So do some work for free. Don't be afraid of it. You gotta, especially at the beginning, you have to show that you're good at moving your goal. Okay, so the elements that I would want to see if I were looking for, say, digital advertising, and I keep picking that because so many people are looking for it right now. I would want to see that you understand the different ad platforms. I'd want to see that you know how to create an image, right? That you can create something that fits the brand identity or the brand feeling, right? For a brand. It doesn't have to be mine. It doesn't have to be Wegmans even. When you're showing it, you go, here's what the brand was trying to cause. Here's an image idea for them. Come up with maybe 10 different messages that go with that image, or 10 different ads, because that's how every ad campaign starts, is with split testing. And then if you've shot a video clip, great. If you can lead a good testimonial and get that on camera and just show the raw footage even, that's really powerful. It doesn't have to be finished everything, but it's got to be the seeds of good ideas. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to take a couple more questions. So Chloe, love this. What's my process like when I'm onboarding a client? Do we work on complete rebrands for companies? Yes. We do things beyond just packaging. Our services include things like figuring out the pricing problems for a client. One of our clients yesterday, she's a brand new client. She's fantastic. She is getting ready to do a test order with Walgreens in the Chicago region. And she had a meeting this morning with Myers. And so she's done some things right. She's getting the meetings. But when we looked at her pricing and her costing, there were some really big things in there that weren't going to work out very well. We'll say it that way. It was going to be bad. And she was going to barely break even every time she sold her product. So instead of doing that, she became a client of ours. We did a 2.5-hour meeting yesterday. We fixed her pricing problems. We actually gave her the language to use with the buyer. We changed her, what's called a pitch deck, a PowerPoint or a Google slide of all the different information that they need to buy from her. So I took a look at that in about 15 minutes. We flipped some of the slides around. We changed some talking points. We added some other pieces. So she had her meeting already today. Does anybody want to know how it went? Anybody? Okay, if nobody like raises a hand or puts in a chat, I'm not going to tell you. It went fantastically. She will find out in 2 weeks how many stores it will be. And if it doesn't get in before Christmas, it'll be the first quarter of the year. And it's a really, really cool product because it's great marketing for her next items that she already has. So she's using this one to open the door. And it's fashion and coronavirus combined. So it's a good placement. And it looks like it'll be by the front door, right up front. Boom, not bad. So let's see. So my process for onboarding that client, our first conversation was, let's see, today's Thursday. First meeting was Wednesday. Our first conversation, I met her last Wednesday in the National Association of Women Business Owners member orientation. I'm on the board for the LA area. So the national group was doing an orientation. I posted something in the chat box. I posted a good marketing piece. And the marketing piece in the chat box said this: Amy Wenslow, clients hire us. You hear this? This is my marketing piece that got this client in the door in less than a week. Amy Wenslow, clients hire us when they don't know how to grow their product or they need to fix a profit problem so they can have a really great business with physical products. Amy at productstoprofits.com and my phone number. And that was literally the first sentence she ever saw from me. So we did our first conversation on Tuesday. She signed as a client that same day. Then from there, we have a non-disclosure agreement that gets sent automatically as part of our onboarding. For the type of work we're doing with her, there's a list of questions that get emailed to her before her first meeting. Usually takes clients about 2 hours to answer them. And it's to get all the foundational information out of the way about their product, the status of it, what they're trying to do. We're very goal focused. Like, what are they trying to cause is a really important piece for us. And by when? Because if we need to correct the expectation, we want to do that right up front. Then they send over information that they want us to look at. In her case, it was her sell sheet, her current packaging. I requested seeing that. Her costing. What else? There's something else in there. She had a list of successes that she's had in the past 8 months or so, and she wanted to know how to leverage those the best. So that got sent over to us too. We did a 2.5-hour meeting yesterday, and her meeting with the account was today. Our onboarding is automated. It goes for the most part automatically with some slight customizations, and it varies depending on what we're doing with people. So if it's a proposal, we have a system that is fantastic for doing our proposals, and it automatically turns it into a contract. And so we leverage technology a lot. I'm a big fan of that because it's more reliable in many ways than humans are. Once you set it up well, it goes. If anybody's looking for how do you know when you should automate something, like Chloe, I think you might be a little bit of a process person. If something gets done more than about 3 times in a month, it should be automated. It's kind of my rule of thumb. That's where you start to look at it. If it's just once or twice a month, great, assign that to somebody with a checklist. So let's see, what's the other question? So that's the onboarding. And yes, we do work on the complete rebrands. When we're doing a complete rebrand, it's very important that we have the stakeholders, meaning all the people that are the decision makers, in the room. Like I don't want to do a halfway through a rebrand, get somebody going like, oh, you know, Fred saw it and he doesn't like whatever. No, we don't play that way. Everybody who's going to make the decision is in the process. And we have a very clear, defined process for rebrands. And there's a clear set of checklists and milestones. And it all goes back to the proposal. All of that is in our proposal before we even sign the project. And if we can't get agreement on that, it usually means nothing else is going to go really well. So we shouldn't take the work. That was a hard-won lesson on that one. So when we're doing social media, again, we have an intake process. All of the work that we do with clients is under NDA. And websites, there's a whole spec that we have, a specification sheet about what we're trying to cause. And so we do that. I love it. The sun has just decided to break through right there. Let's see. What do I think is the most useful social media platform? It depends on the audience you're marketing to. There are so many people who will say LinkedIn is the way you have to go, or Facebook is the way you have to go. The audiences are totally different. And depending on the business goals, my answer would change. If they're trying to sell to higher up levels, I would probably use LinkedIn. If it's a direct to consumer product, you're probably going to be through Facebook, maybe Instagram. For getting jobs, I would recommend that you look on LinkedIn, but understand that the pace on LinkedIn is different. LinkedIn is slower. People aren't there as often, right? So the pace of the interaction is different. It can be a good place to do research. Some of your best marketing will come through getting involved with some group and being on the committee for something so that somebody gets to know you, right? You can volunteer for different nonprofits in their marketing department. That would be a great way, because the other people that are involved in a nonprofit, particularly at the board level, usually have businesses. So if I were in your shoes and I wanted to find a marketing job in Wellsville or Hornell or Rochester or Buffalo, I would get on the marketing committee of something. And I would show my best ideas and do the thing that is like, wow, this would really set you apart from, you know, the other dog rescue, whatever it is, right? So that they see that you continually are a creative problem solver and that you have the goal of the organization in mind all the time. And for anybody who wanted, let's see, I think it was Noah with Wegmans, yes. That would be a great way to look. I would look on LinkedIn, find out the organizations or the type of organizations that the senior management of Wegmans really like. And then I would go volunteer on the marketing department of those organizations. And I would use that and leverage it. What do you think? Is that different or kind of creative at least? If you're looking for jobs in Buffalo, New York, anybody interested in Buffalo? It's very close by, relatively speaking. The National Association of Women Business Owners has a very good chapter in Buffalo. Sherry Barr Mack is I think she's the immediate past president. Anyway, they have so many different members in so many different areas with different projects. Is anybody interested in like diversity and inclusion, minority-owned business, social cause, any of that? Okay. If you are, they have a diversity and inclusion committee that is about causing growth in those areas of business. A student membership is less than $100 for a year. And they're doing all their meetings virtually. So you can participate in meetings all across the country with that trade group for about $100 a year. And I will tell you that all of us are supporting other member businesses. And so we are posting in the Facebook group all the time, hey, I'm looking for someone who does this. And then recommendations come. I've solved business problems from that Facebook group in a matter of 2 days. There's about 800 business owners in that Facebook group, but you have to be a member to be in it. Okay, so I would suggest if you're looking for a job and you're looking for anything that can be done remotely, that you look at a couple organizations that have the kind of businesses that you want to work for and go volunteer at them. Think of it like a fancy internship, you know. Let's see, so social media platform, the most useful one is the one that has the audience of what you're trying to sell. Let's see, for the, oh yeah, Shelly, your point is exactly right. Exercise of watching competitors and what's going on, it's massively important. When you can say you're sending a cover letter or you're doing an interview with Wegmans, and you can say, well, I noticed that such and so is doing this, or hey, I noticed that there's a trend in experiential marketing for cars, and I'm wondering if maybe you could apply that to health and produce. Just because it's a different industry doesn't mean it is not interesting. And there are a lot of people that wouldn't necessarily think to make that connection that really should, you know. For example, visual merchandising case study. There, you have Rite Aids there. I personally hated Rite Aids for about 5 years. Hated them. Refused to go in a Rite Aid because of one thing they did with their visual merchandising and store layout that so annoyed me that I literally drove past a Rite Aid to go to a CVS. Like every week, I am like, I'm not going there. They're not getting my money. And I drove past them because of a visual merchandising choice they made that I knew was being made to manipulate me. And it made me so mad, right? So they actually and it created a problem inside their store that none of their store managers or their store staff could help you find where the thing was. It was so horrible. And it was disrespectful to their customer base. And I actually wrote to their corporate headquarters and told them that. And what it was they redesigned their aisles to be these chevron things, and you couldn't find anything. And the store staff, one time, I literally asked 4 different people where something was and got 4 different answers. And the store layout had been like that for about 6 months. They should have known by then, right? So visual merchandise is really important. So when you notice things like that was an unsuccessful change that they made. You can actually call that out in a cover letter. I noticed that your store layout seems to be confusing a lot of consumers right now. Have you considered X? Just because you notice a problem doesn't mean that sometimes you can poke the problem with a stick, right? Because they know they have the problem. They know. Like, I mean, yeah, you have no idea how many people that I said that to, and they went, I know, I stopped going there too. And what they were doing was they were confusing people to get you to stay in the store longer to put more items in your cart. But in the process of doing that, they actually lost customer base. And the statistics bore it out. So, all right. So anybody want a Shark Tank story? Shark Tank? Okay, it's good, right? All right, so I am very fortunate. I get to speak on stage occasionally with Damon John. And I've had clients in common with Kevin Harrington from the first season. And we get compared to Lori Grenier because, well, the way Someone said this to us after a meeting. They said, "Oh my gosh, you're like Shark Tank, only you're nice. No, you're the dolphin tank," right? I thought that was so funny. So we have had a couple clients that have been on the show at different points. We have one coming up this season. I cannot tell you who it is for non-disclosure agreements. You want to know how they filmed the season this year? This is fascinating. I was like, how are they going to do this? So our client got a phone call that they were invited to be on the show this season. And in the middle of the lockdown, like the depths of it, the show was going into filming. Matter of fact, they filmed on they went to Vegas on August 8th. No, it must have been earlier, August 1st, and the show was filmed on the 12th. The show producers took over an entire floor of the Venetian Hotel, which is one of the very nice high-end 5-star hotels in Vegas. They took over the entire floor. The Venetian had designated staff that only worked with the people on that floor. They were not allowed to come in contact with any other hotel guests. There were separate elevators for the entire week. And anybody who was going to be involved in the show was on lockdown at the Venetian for a week, not allowed to leave their hotel room for 7 days. In Vegas, you weren't allowed to go to the casino tables. You weren't allowed to go to a slot machine. You weren't allowed to go to your car. Like literally everything was done by the staff. If you used a different elevator, you were no longer eligible to be shown on the show. They would not film you. I mean, like, use the wrong elevator and your opportunity's gone. It was extremely serious. So one thing to keep in mind for the show is that what you're seeing is a tiny, tiny piece. We advised Benji Lock, which was on a couple years ago. And when I was working with them, we were talking through the terms of a licensing deal and what was likely to happen. And so it was kind of funny because what you see on the show is this little snippet, right? It was 2.5 hours of conversation in the due diligence before they even really made it into the real due diligence. It was 2.5 hours behind closed doors. And they go into a lot of the detail of things. The other show that is out is the elevator pitch show. Have you all seen that? Has anybody seen it, where you see the entrepreneur in the elevator and then the elevator doors open and they step out and they get like 30 seconds to pitch their thing? We've had clients that have been on that. The elevator is literally not an elevator. It is a room right on the set. It's like, think of it like a big warehouse, and they have a room that looks like an elevator, and then they have the couches in the window of where the show hosts are, or the investors. And you walk out, literally, like you walk in one door where they can't see you. You stand in there, you act all nervous. They intentionally get you nervous before they open the doors. Like, they keep you in there for extra time so that it amps the anxiety level. Seriously. And then they open the doors and then you pitch. Now, one of our clients that was on one of these shows was kept in that holding pattern for 15 minutes. No joke, 15 minutes of waiting, thinking something's about to happen and it not happening and it not happening and it not happening. And it's so that it makes better TV. Success stories, there's a lot of those, but some of the not success stories are more fun. We had a client that came to us after their product had already been shipped and shown to QVC 3 times. And the week before we were talking, they said, oh yeah, we got a new rep and we sent the product to them and they took it to QVC and the buyers threw it at them. Like literally in the meeting, this product, fortunately it was really a soft product and it didn't hurt, but the rep goes into this meeting thinking it's being shown for the first time to this buyer, right? The buyer gets furious, takes the product, throws it back across the conference table and says, why am I seeing this again? I've already said no to this 3 times. And the rep was like deer in headlights, because frankly, they didn't know. That was a mistake on the part of the business, because they should have told their rep that it's already been shown 3 times, so that the rep could actually prepare, right? If you're in that type of situation, what you would do is you would say things like, you'd find a reason to be showing it again. Like maybe there's a change to the product, or there's a new marketing angle, or there's something new going on in the culture. And you'd say, I know that you saw this product 6 months ago or last month, but we've added XYZ colors, or we did some additional work on our sourcing and we're able to bring the price point closer to what you wanted, right? Like, arm your sales reps. So yeah, that was a horrible situation. We have another one where a client called us to look at a licensing contract from somewhere that was very well known. And licensing is an agreement. Say I invented my spoon, right? My soup spoon from before. I invented this. I don't want to make it. I want a manufacturer to make it and just pay me a little bit of money every time they sell this. That's a licensing agreement. So this client came to us and he was about to sign this agreement, and it's legally binding, and they have different terms in there and all different ways you can negotiate things. He said, Amy, could you take a look at this? I said, sure, Robert, I'm happy to do that. And I look at it, and the first page says it's exclusive in the territory. Exclusive in the territory. And then you read further in, and if you don't do the math, it seems like a really good deal. Well, there was a clause in there. This was one little paragraph, really harmless, on about the 3rd page, that says, you know, royalty rate is going to be this percentage. But the kicker on this, and it was a really well-known place. I can't tell you because you would all be shocked, and the NDA won't let me. But it worked out to, it says, if the client is owed royalty on more than $250,000 a year in sales, or sorry, less than $250,000 in sales, then he can cancel the contract. Okay, sounds good. If it's not going well, he can get out of it. Awesome. If he was owed royalty on more than $500,000 in sales in a year, they could buy his entire business for the amount he had to negotiate at the beginning. Now, I don't mean his product that was that product line. I mean his entire company. The way they wrote that piece of language, it was his whole business, not the one product line that it looked like, right? So instead of just buying the business and the revenue from the spoon that I would have invented, they would have bought it from my entire company, products to profits, my whole business. When I thought I was negotiating on just this, if like that's how they set that up. So that was pretty bad. And then when you did the math, I was working the numbers. The royalty that if he was owed less than $7,000, he could cancel the contract. If he was owed more than $14,000 in a year, they could buy his entire business. And he had to sell it to them if he had signed this contract. And then in the back, the last page in the addendum, I was looking through, I'm like, what do they define the territory, right? What's the territory? The territory was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. I get all the way to the end of the contract, there's a page, and it's addendum A, and it says, clause 1, territory, the world. That was all it said. The entire page was territory, the world. They didn't want to put it on the front of the contract because they were actually trying to get exclusive rights worldwide for like a ridiculously low amount of money, with a kicker of being able to buy his entire business if they, needed to pay him more than $14,000. It was a really, really bad deal. So the success part of that is he said no. He actually laughed when I explained the contract to him. And I'm not an attorney. We just work on the what does the business deal look like, okay? So it's really important if you ever get in a licensing agreement, read the whole thing, run the numbers. So yeah, let's see, what other good stories? Shelly, there's so many. If you want me to tell more stories, I'm happy to. If anybody's got a question, type it in. I'm watching the, let's see. Oh yeah, so, okay, an example of where we help the client redesign their product and packaging to bring it to market. Sure, we have loop rope, that's on our website. Let me pull this one thing up because I will show you the brand new one. Yes. This is literally the one that went to the printer yesterday. I'll show you one of the early stages. So there were some questions about process, right? And there's a lot of iterations and versions when you get into doing a redesign or a rebrand. So usually you take it in pieces and stages. The first stage is usually the new brand identity or the logo. And once you get that established in the color scheme, then you're usually working on the rest of the packaging. So I'll show you the artwork. I'll do a screen share for the finished file of this. So that is a gluten-free flour baking mix. It's spectacular. It allows people with celiac disease or who just don't want to eat gluten to use their existing baking recipes and make anything. So since you were asking about some process questions, do you want to see a couple things in different stages? I'll show you one project that I'll show you, like what is a die line? Have any of you ever seen a die line? Okay, if you're going to get involved in package design or anything for printing, you're going to see die lines. Would you like to see one now? I'll show you how that spec works. Okay, Josh, I see you. Okay, let me just share the screen here. Bear with me one quick sec. And I can actually show this because it's going out, so we're good. So this is a die line. Somebody give me a thumbs up or let me know that you can see my screen as this is coming up. Okay, awesome, thank you. All right, so a die line is a mechanical drawing of the shape of something, all the technical specifications. This is going to be a bag that's kind of like this. So it's got what's called a gusset on the bottom. And the die line is the exterior trim shape. You can see it says things like the dimensions and what's going on between laser scores, all different stuff. But it's a technical drawing of what the material that the package is being made out of needs to be cut like, okay? So this is really helpful for even you business majors to know that your art department goes through a couple of different things. They need things like the die line because the design work is done in layers on top of that. So I'm going to show you. So this is a die line that we used for the new package. So we were making final edits here. And you want to always do your logo in a couple different versions. So we did a horizontal one and a stacked one. This is the horizontal version. Right. So this is a flower that's very natural. It's certified organic. It's developed by a naturopathic doctor. So it's really got a lot going for it. I'll show you just a couple more things here. This is its, oh, that's not the final. I'll show you some things in process. So this is before we finalized it. There were more changes after this. So its new packaging looks, oh, it won't let me shrink it. So now we added photos to the front. So instead of this blue bag that you can't tell what the heck it is, it's actually got photos. There's a cutout window that's going to be on there. The back, the previous back is this. So it's got, like now it's got a message from the creator. This is squarely a marketing piece right here. And then this is where the nutrition panel goes. So you see we've got some pieces here that we're still working with. And then, let's see. So this is getting ready to launch. Oh, and then the photo shoot folder. So Chloe, you were asking about our process, right? And about our scope of work. How do we onboard clients? Well, this particular client, we didn't include a photo shoot in the proposal. So for everybody who's in business, we were about to get something called scope creep. Scope creep is where you have one set of agreed things that you're going to do, and then you add in this little extra thing, and you add in that little extra thing, and you know, that's scope creep, okay? So we were trying to use stock photos for the front of this, and it was not working. We were just not able to get the right perspective, and artistically, it just looked not great. So we threw in a photo shoot for free for the client, a half-day photo shoot. So this is the unretouched stuff. We didn't trim any of these. This is just as they came out of the camera. And so we were showing all different kinds of things that could be made with it, and kind of went on. And this is designed to be cropped for an ad, right? These cute little pedophores, and then we had different types of cupcakes, and we had 2 different kinds of bread, and all these different things. I'll scroll down. And then for her website, you know, we actually set these little vignettes of a cupcake that's actually gluten-free and looking cute with a glass of milk, because we needed these for the website, not the packaging. And then we did group shots. So we had a couple things in here. So a muffin with a cup of tea that would be interesting, you know, kind of like a little office thing, and some other stuff. I'm looking for the group shots that we actually ended up using for the front of the package. Oh yeah, and then we did these fun little things where we actually wrote stuff in a pile of flour on the table to be able to use on the website. And I'll show you one more thing before we wrap up here. Oh, here we go. So then we did these group shot images. Now, because, okay, here's how you position something if you're going to do it for business purposes. We threw in this photo shoot. It took us about 6 hours to do, because we could do it in-house, and because it would actually save us time and let us deliver a better result. And then positioning with the client, what we did is we actually said, you know what, we were really committed to going above and beyond on your project. And really the right thing to do was to do this photo shoot. So we've given this to you for free. Right? When actually what it was doing was saving us tons of rework on the front of the package. But if you're going to include something for people, they need to know that there was a value to it. Otherwise, they don't value it, right? So what we did is we did these group shots. And then on the front of the package, we've cropped in. I'll show you in a second. And we did this because we're using a clear window. And then you see the way the package is set up, there's this photo on the front with a pile of flour. And then the pile of flour is actually cut out to be a window, so you actually see the white flour of the product, like it's sitting in the bowl, right? And it zoomed in. And so here we were showing kind of the range of what it can be used for. Let me go over to the finished product, and then I'll take more questions. Yeah, so we were on this project, we did naming, we've done pricing work, we did work on the size that the package should be, how much should be in it, competitive analysis to Bob's Red Mill. oh wait, let me go over here. I'm gonna stop this share and I'll pull up the actual print file for you because it'll be interesting for you to see. I love this. Kaylee, I love your question. When you're in the final stages of developing packaging, how do you know when it's done? Oh my gosh, this project, if we went through the whole file tree on this, you'll see multiple times where it says final edits, October 28th, final edits, October 30th, final edits. Sometimes it happens that way, right? Other times it was because like really late in the game, we discovered we had a typo. Never proof your own work, but we were under the gun and we did. And we had the certifying agency, it said certified organic by OCAI instead of certified organic by OCIA. Literally, it was the A and the I were reversed, but that means it's going to be rejected by the certification body. So we have to fix it. We also have a secret weapon that we use sometimes. We knew that this product was going to be, it'll be available through Amazon as well as other places. It's going to grocery store, and so don't be surprised if you see it in Wegmans. And here we go, Final Illustrator. So we actually sent it over to one of our friends that works for Amazon. He is the level of guy who he has 400 data scientists that report to him. So before we finalized our package, we actually sent it over to Spencer and said, hey, Spencer, would you take an unofficial look at this for us? We want to just make sure that we hit everything. And we've been doing this a little while. He literally had 2 suggestions. They weren't requirements. Everything that they needed was already done. So sometimes in your process, you'll decide that you need to do things like that. And that can delay a project, but it's usually the right thing. So let me show you this now. We've got the final die line and artwork up, and then I'm gonna wrap up for us. This is really cool though. If you've never seen a packaging file, this is a really good exercise for you. So this is actually packaging when it's going to the printer. And if you're in business and you're ever going to do products or you're going to do print materials at all, you get to understand this. So in here, there's different layers, right? If I turn off that layer, that's the die line. That's the mechanical. There's the 4-color. And then this is an underlayer that is needed for printing. So what's happening here, let me zoom a little bit. Might not let me while I'm doing so many things. No, we'll try it. No. There we go. Okay. So on this now, you saw the die line by itself, right? Let me turn off the 4-color. So there's the die line, the mechanicals. And then when we put the artwork over it, this is what's going on with it. This is the bottom gusset, meaning this bottom section. And so what we're doing is we're actually comparing for brand impact, this package. I think you can see my screen, my camera, right? We've got this package versus one that's called gluten-free naturals, GF naturals, that talks on the back all about the fact that it's gluten-free, it's an all-purpose flour. This didn't even say it was a flour. Plus we've got these awesome pictures, right? That free photo shoot that we did for them. There we go. So this is one of the images that we shot as a shortcut for ourselves that we then gave to the client. And we gave them the full copyright, the full ability to use it everywhere. Certifications, this is USDA organic. This is the kosher symbol for the certifying body. And Kaylee, you asked the question about when we're doing packaging, when do we know we're done? One of the suggestions from Spencer over at Amazon was about adding this USA flag on the front, because you can't composite images in Amazon. And he had another thing, we had done something a little different up here and we had green behind it. And he said, oh no, that's a problem. You won't find the guideline anywhere, but it is a problem for Amazon. And he said, let me tell you why. And it's because the way Amazon encodes the photos, it would look like there was a hole in the photo. But it would take the photo and it would make the listing live, but then there's going to be this hole. Like this entire area would have looked like a hole in the images, which is really bad. And because we can't composite the images in Amazon, we added the Made in USA flag on the front, because if it's part of the packaging, you can have it there. If you have a picture of the package and then you're adding it, you can't do that. Okay? So when you're working on packaging, knowing regulation is really important. How to do all this stuff on the back and the legalities. This is the new nutrition panel that's going into effect December 31st. We're the ones that generate that. So is that helpful for you to see, or at least interesting? Okay, awesome. So I'm going to stop our share, but that's the final version of a package. It's going to the printer. It was sent over yesterday. They're already in their pre-press. So they're doing their setup. Anybody have a question? And then we'll kind of wrap. Do I have a personal preference between InDesign, Illustrator, and Photoshop? No, my personal preference is whatever one that my designer likes to work in. That gets me the result I want. I spec all of this out, and when we're, oh, sorry, I switched back over. When we were working on the GF Naturals packaging, I actually have a design brief that I give to the team. I tell them who it's for, anything special about it, all the special certifications, colors we're interested in that will speak to the market, and the type of feel we want it to have, right? I don't dictate every detail to them because I'm hiring them because they have creativity, right? But I need to give them the creative universe. Like, what are they trying to do? Anybody who's a creative knows creating without some guideline is a disaster. It's horrible, right? Like, then you get a million revisions. So the preferences between InDesign, Illustrator, and Photoshop, we use them all. We have Adobe Creative Suite. We're able to open every kind of file from all around the world because our clients are international. So I hope that that helps you. And I've got like 5 more minutes because I have a board meeting in less than an hour. So, so yeah, Shelly, was that a good redesign example for you? Okay, awesome. And you can unmute yourself. We could talk. Josh, do you have any questions? If anybody has a question, unmute your mic and ask, okay?
I have a question about visual merchandising.
Sure.
So I've run into problems where brands will redesign their packaging and then it no longer matches the client's retail space. Do you like survey your current clients before changing packaging, or do you focus more on the target audience or target market?
Usually the package redesigns that we're doing are such a vast improvement on the how something's going to sell that they just get accepted. Like our packaging gets accepted by Lowe's and Home Depot and, you know, Walmart. I've re-merchandised 16 feet of Walmart stores. So we focus on what's going to make the product sell the best. And then part of the marketing pitch and the sales pitch to the retail account or to the company that the product gets sold to is the conversation about, you know what, we're doing what's called a running change to the packaging because we noticed that we really needed to refresh this section of it. And so it's never just here's the new package and we slap it down on their desk. It's very much a dialogue. Sometimes clients will need to have a separate version of packaging, which is really not ideal because then they have to have more inventory. But sometimes that happens. There's a lot more control over the type of packaging if it's a private label situation. So it sounds like you do package design. So If something's private label, there's specifications that you can't really deviate from. You have to do it so that it matches everybody else's version of the private label. In that case, we don't even try. When we're doing a rebrand of something that's early stage, it's completely our call. If it's something that's already selling, which is what you're talking about, and it no longer matches somebody's retail space, usually it's not a problem if you tell them why. It's going to make them more money and be better. If you're getting pushback on it, it's usually that the sales conversation isn't aligned.
Great.
Would be my point on that. And we actually work with other designers. So we have clients where we're doing, say, art direction, or we're working on the pricing, and they have a designer that they love that they're using. And we're the ones giving a creative brief. And then we'll see the designer's work in process and work with them and say, oh, can you slide this over here and move that over there? And designers like to work with us that way because frankly, we make their job easier. So important point there from a business standpoint is do not try to be an island. Don't try and do it all yourself. Use team, use what everybody's really good at. Does anybody have one last question?
I have one actually.
Sure.
So I'm curious about as maybe an artist pursuing a career in design for a promotions company, as far as a portfolio, what's really valued? Would you say diversity or maybe specialization? I don't know. I'd like specifically and generally, I guess, what's kind of good to see in a portfolio for that?
It depends how narrow you want your focus to be, you as an applicant, right? I am a big fan of read the job posting. You have no idea how many times we've disqualified people because they just didn't read what we posted. And they didn't do what we asked them to do, and they don't get an interview. They don't even get an interview because they just didn't do what we asked. And I know that sounds really harsh on one hand, but we're one of the few businesses that will actually give people that feedback. I've posted things for some entry-level positions where I said, you need to know these pieces of software, or actually, and they were basic ones. It was basic stuff. And it would be great if you also knew this and this, right? And it was a requirement that they send a good cover letter or that they send samples of their work, and they didn't send the cover letter. They don't get an interview. Not because they didn't send the cover letter, but because they didn't bother to read my request. Mm-hmm. So it's really important that you do that. I would recommend, if you're going for kind of a general marketing position, that you have a couple examples of copy that you've done, writing that you've done, a couple samples of that, definitely a couple image samples. If you have a video clip of something you've done, put that in there. If you have a brochure that you designed, put that in. Just kind of give enough of a sample, because what you're looking for is to show yourself as versatile in that situation. So you probably want to have about 10 different examples that they can sort of scroll through really quickly. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And know that if you're going for an entry-level position, they are not putting you up against somebody who's got 20 to 25 years experience. They're just that's not happening, right? You're getting apples to apples comparisons going on. And when I'm looking to hire somebody for our company, we have a very clear process about it. We post the posting, one of the assistants looks at the submissions, and if they don't comply with our request, you would literally get an email back that says this: "Thank you so much for your interest in the position. We noticed that you didn't submit a cover letter. Unfortunately, we will not be able to interview you." It's like that. It's like, what? Sometimes it'll be for tone. If I say that we need friendly professional kind of language, then, we mean don't be really formal, but also don't use text abbreviations. Like, that's an immediate disqualifier. Text abbreviations in your email to me, don't. No, you will not be allowed to communicate with our clients. And I'm saying that because there's a lot of, it happens. I've seen it. So for your portfolio, include about 10 different samples and make sure that they run the gamut. If you're applying for, can you still hear me? My headset just beeped like it was going on. Okay. If you are applying for a visual merchandising position and you don't have a lot of work already that you've done for somebody, it's completely fine for you to go into Rite Aid and relay their dang disastrous set, okay? Do samples, invest your time. Does that help you, Josh? Okay, let's see what else. Is there one last question? Okay.
Hey, Amy.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to add to that. We have a lot of folks with art and business, but we also have traditional marketing. And one of the things we've talked about in the club is some of our traditional marketing folks working with these talented artists to also have things to put in their portfolio. They might, I'm not a graphic designer or I'm not an artist, but if I work with an artist and learn from them, now you've got a shared project. And I think that's really important too, to kind of complement each other's skill sets.
And it shows that you can work in a team.
Exactly.
Which is a really important skill.
Thank you so much for saying about the abbreviation. I do teach a business writing class, and I reiterate over and over and over again, your writing is your brand. And if you mess that up, it's so easy to do spell check. It's so easy to just polish it up a little bit, because if you don't, your point, you lose an interview.
Yeah.
Right.
And typos, like if you're doing graphics,
right.
Like Josh, it sounds like you're kind of involved in the graphic side. Notice what I said about that packaging, where we missed a typo. It was a key typo. If that had gone to press, that would have cost our client about $8,000. So I'm looking for people that can proof their work, right? And we're diligent about it, and it would have cost our client that much. And that's a significant part of a profit margin on a project. And I would have felt horrible, because we literally, almost 30 years now, have never had a typo go to press, ever. Never. It just, like, we don't. So the fact that it was caught was really important to me. So try not to have typos in your emails. Spell check, Grammarly. And also get the tone right. If somebody says friendly professional, they don't mean write like a lawyer, right? They mean like straightforward, concise, approachable kind of language. And be creative in it. Give them good word pictures, especially if you're going through a marketing position. So anybody else, if you're a straight business person going to marketing, you might want to throw in some statistics in a cover letter. A little bit of something. Throw in a stat,
Show you've done your research.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even if it's just you went to their website and you counted how many products they sell.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
Well, very good. Well, thank you so much. I hope everybody enjoyed it.